What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? This your man Troy from the Capital Music Group, and you are now tuned in with your girl ADRI.V, the Go Getta, on the G Code.
Hey, my go-getters, and welcome to another episode of the G Code with me, ADRI.V, the Go Getter. Don't forget to make sure you are subscribing to us on iTunes as well as YouTube and SoundCloud, and make sure that we provide many outlets for you to get connected to us via all your devices, whether it's your phone, your tablet, iPad, computer. However, I want to make sure you are getting all the codes necessary to make sure your life is just as dope as the people that I have on here. So with me, I have this beautiful young lady. I got a chance to first meet her via Periscope, and one of my good friends, Sally Nicole Cruz, suggested that I watch this Periscope and get in on it, and honestly, it was one of the dopest ones that I had a chance to watch. So I want to welcome to the G Code Miss Alexandra Wolf, aka the Boss Babe creator, of course, CEO and founder. Hey, lovely, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I cannot complain. I just want to say welcome to the G Code. Thank you so much for coming on and being aboard.
Thank you. I'm curious to know which Periscope you saw.
I forgot which one it was because I've been watching several of them since then. The first one she sent me was like back in September.
Oh, okay. No worries. I was just curious.
I feel like I kept sending all the hearts and so many crowns was going off. I was just like, man, I just don't even know everything she's saying right now. She's dropping jewels. So you're welcome. So, you know, the biggest question is for many, because you get a chance to talk to us about Boss Babe. Exactly who is Alexandra Wolf?
Well, I'm just a millennial girl living in New York City. I'm an entrepreneur, investor, and Boss Babe is what I'm most known for. And I'm really into technology and innovation, and just getting, inspiring people to challenge their minds and think differently.
Which is definitely necessary in this age. So the biggest question is, what possessed you to create Boss Babe, and where did it come from? And for those who don't know what Boss Babe is, you need to get on board. But for many of you, you have reposted, retweeted it, and re-Instagrammed it on many places. So this is the woman who started all of this. So where did Boss Babe come from, and what made you want to decide to create such an avenue for many, many people?
Yeah, so I was a social media coach before I started Boss Babe, and I was helping older entrepreneurs build up their social media engagement for their, businesses. And I felt, it was just kind of me fooling around. I felt like because I was this young, kind of creative, feminine businesswoman, I was a little insecure about it. I'd go to business meetings and I'd have like super glam outfit on, and just it would be a little distracting. And I was realizing that, there were a lot of women like me who were very professional, but they had kind of like a more creative or feminine aspect to them that was not necessarily being translated well in the business world, or not even that. It was just like there wasn't much space for that kind of businesswoman. And, with the things like, Sophia Amoruso's book, Girl Boss, she definitely set some standards as far as like what this new millennial businesswoman was going to look like. And in addition to her vision, I had a similar kind of idea of like, what does this mean for millennial women today? Like, the businesswoman of today is not the same as she was even in like the 90s.
Absolutely.
So I just started venting on a platform on Instagram, and people just started following, and the account, was pretty much viral within 1 week. So it was really cool. That's what started it.
Now, did you ever imagine for it to even go that big and become such the platform that it is?
No, I did not. This wasn't planned. I just kind of was like, I had a book idea for Boss Babe at first, and so the Instagram was going to kind of be a way to promote the book, but you know how things go, like you change your mind. And so it wasn't a planned thing.
Now, let's just kind of backtrack just a little bit, because I know you're at this, if you don't mind me asking, exactly how old are you? Because you look so young. And I feel like you talk about going into these business meetings, and it's just, you're so beautiful. You seem so well-versed.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm 23 years old.
23. And so at 23 years old, you have built this empire. So that means you started when?
Well, I mean, I was selling candles online at 18, so I've been doing my thing. I sold a Pokemon card in 3rd grade.
Pokemon, you just took it all the way back.
For a while.
Absolutely. And so, at what age did you feel that you were most comfortable in knowing what you know, and knowing your lane, and knowing your lane well, and knowing that, you know what, I can really make this big, like you said, sitting with other people, helping them out with their businesses. At what age did you decide in your head, you know what, I'm about to ride this thing out?
Are you talking about for Boss Babe particularly, or?
No, just in general, when entering into this industry.
In general. I would say, yeah, that's a good question. I would say around 20, 20 is when I was like, that's when I decided like I wasn't going to go to, finish college. And I was like, I'm going to do this entrepreneur thing full time. Like I made that decision in my head at around 20 years old. Like I remember leaving my school that day and telling myself I'm never coming back here. I'm going to figure something else out.
Time out. So you was in school and then you said, you know what? It's a wrap. This ain't for me no more. And I'm not coming back. Honestly, what was going through your head in that moment? Like, seriously.
I remember it was a gut feeling. It was one of the strongest gut feelings I've ever experienced in my life. And what was going on through my head? It was a combination of me not knowing what the heck I was going to do, but knowing that this was not going to be it. So I didn't have a vision. I didn't know how I was going to provide for myself or anything. I just knew that it wasn't going to be through going to school. And that was hard, because both of my parents are college educated. I was always raised to, believe that, going to college is the most important part of your adulthood, or one of the most important parts. And so it was hard, but, I'm happy I followed through with it.
Now, although you didn't go the traditional way of educating yourself, what are some ways that you really pursue in educating yourself in your industry and then just overall? Because, there are a lot of people who feel the same way as you, maybe school isn't for me.
Yeah.
And like you said, having parents who come from an educational background and it's like, this is the traditional thing we do in this family. And, what did you ever feel at some point like mom and dad? How was that conversation you had to have with them? Because I'm sure by then tuition was already being paid.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was paying my own tuition, so that definitely contributed to part of my decision. But, how did that conversation go? I mean, they were in denial for the first 2 years until, money really started rolling in. And now it's like, before it was like, Alex, what are you doing? Go to school. And now it's like, oh, Alex, can you get me tickets to this? And I'm like, okay, but... there was, I mean, it's all out of love, right? I mean, I would tell anyone who's in that predicament right now to try to not take it personal. It's so hard. I think it stopped me I think I felt that way, years before I made that decision. So, but I was just too afraid to actually make the decision because I felt like I was going to be a failure to my parents, and that was really difficult to me. And, my dad has emailed me in the past couple of weeks telling me he's proud of me. And I had a moment where I was like, if I would have waited for that, I'm proud of you before, I would have been waiting forever. And so it was like a message I kind of told my followers on Snapchat, like, don't wait for that I'm proud of you. Do you first, and if the I'm proud of you comes, then that's great. But like, it was just a moment where I realized, like, I could have been waiting for that comment forever. And I'm glad I didn't. So.
It's funny, we share a similar story. Like my mother, when I told her I wanted to go to school for broadcasting to be radio personality, her thing was like, why are you doing that? When you graduate, you're not going to get a job. She wanted me to go to school for med. Like to go to school, become a doctor, be a nurse, because she's a nurse. And I'm like, that's not for me. And if I'm going to go, it has to be for something I like to do, which is what? Talk. So, once I was able to get on the radio and then now having several stations that I am on, now she's doing the same thing your parents are. You get tickets to this. Can I? My daughter's on the radio. You should listen to her. And so you're absolutely right. You cannot wait for someone to give you validation in making sure that knowing what is it you want to do with your life. So I definitely appreciate
even if it. And I think the message is like, even if it's your own parents,
yes.
It's like we hear that message all the time, like, oh, stay away from the negativity, only surround yourself. But we're not realizing some of the negativity is your mama. You
right.
know? It's like
the lady that birthed you.
It's hard to cut those people off. They raised you. So, and one of the things I try to always reiterate is that, our parents grew up in a completely different time.
Absolutely.
The economy was completely different. And so they're just trying to look out for us. And they have a hard time understanding how much is changing. So having patience with that idea, I think, also helps.
Absolutely. And, speaking of changing, my entire podcast is about the pretty to ugly and a grind to success, right? So many of us, we see the pretty, we can see you posting, constantly being consistent, posting to Boss Babe, promoting the brand in itself, and really seeing you, make this level, get to this level where you're able to also bring in other millennial women to be a part of what you're building. But no one really gets to see the ugly, and in the face of these issues that come, just like you said, not knowing exactly what is it you were going to do, how everything was going to happen, how you're going to take care of yourself, but you still was able to move forward and push forward and build. So let's just touch on that. Were there ever some times where in the midst of your journey, after walking away from school, deciding being an entrepreneur is what is it you wanted to do, and blazing the trail for many other millennials along this walk, has there been times where you just wanted to give up, or you face some issues where it's like, man, maybe I should have gone this way, or just having self-doubt sometimes?
Yeah, entrepreneurship is essentially, your bounce back rate. And what I mean by that is, like, it's not calculated, in my opinion, it's not calculated by your success. It's calculated by how many times you can get back up from all the amount of times you fall down. Because that's really what you're doing. Every day you fall down a little bit, and that's really how this job works. You have to fail in order to learn how to optimize whatever you're doing. And that can take a large emotional toll on the majority of the population. That's why most people aren't doing it. So have I had days that, every day, I tell my girls that I coach, I'm like, I could potentially freak out every day about something. There's always an email that needs to be answered, or something on the site is, acting up, or, but essentially every business, small to large, always has a problem. So the issue is not about, striving for a perfect day where you're never going to have a problem. It's really about, how do I get, my mindset right so I can deal with the problems that will face me every day, so they don't engulf me, but I manage them, and so that's really how I deal with it.
And like you said, that they don't manage you, you manage them. And in the midst of being able to be the manager, what is your day-to-day like? Because that's, so many entrepreneurs have a different concept for their day-to-day. And one of the entrepreneurs that I know is like, some people go to job 9 to 5. Ours is 24/7. And really, that's the day in the life of an entrepreneur. But from your perspective, and even just being the age that you are, how have you faced these difficulties where people just like, you're so young, how do you really know what you're talking about? Or, when trying to build what you're building and putting the time in, how are you able to even balance being young and enjoying your time? And so, let's kind of, touch on that just a bit.
Yeah, I'm not like one of these entrepreneurs who are like, sleep when you die, or work all day, like I'm not. I feel like I used to be like that, right? But like my best work is done when I'm well rested, when I have taken care of my mental health, meaning sometimes it's just sitting down and reading a book, or just taking some time to not worry about the problem at the forefront. So as far as like my day-to-day, I definitely give myself a good time in the morning to just be by myself. I have my gratitude journal. I like to read a lot. I try to read, a little something every morning. Like it's essentially just, having meetings with people, figuring out ways to scale, all my businesses, and just try to give as much value as I can. So every day is a little different, but the theme, like I always try to make sure I don't lose it, that I don't get too stressed out, or I don't overwork myself, because that's not going to be good for me or my companies.
Absolutely. And I feel like, you've touched on it before. And as you mentioned it, just focusing and being to yourself. And recently you've been pushing and talking about, and I feel like this is something you also had touched on, but recently it's been a major topic of self-mastery. Now, can we, to your opinion, how important is self-mastery to you?
Well, I think self-mastery is everything. Like I was saying before, it's like, we're talking about business, but really in life, right? In life, you're always going to have something going wrong. You're not going to have, maybe, once a year you'll have a day that's just, free of problems. But every day you always have some tax to file, someone to call back, someone's mad at you. There's always going to be potential things to be stressed out about. And what self-mastery teaches is how to master those things, to control yourself. The number one reason why entrepreneurs fail is because they lack self-control. They lack the ability to work through their fears. Fear is not ever going to go away. It's just a matter of how you're going to, are you going to be productive with it being, around you and inside of you. So I think it's very important. I think it's it's an amazing way to kind of bring a fresh perspective and to enhance, your business, your life, your relationships with others. And it's what I try to use. So, yeah.
And, like you said, the biggest discipline, well, more so the most focus when it comes to entrepreneurs is disciplining yourself. And it's clear and evident that you have been able to do that because you have a major following. You've been consistent and you've disciplined yourself enough to ensure that you're able to give of yourself. And definitely we appreciate you for that. And I kind of want to touch on, what is next? You're 20, you said you're 23. And I just want to say salute to you. And you inspire me. I'm a little older than you, not that far. I'm still in my 20s, but you are someone that I can say, she's a shero. She's one of my sheroes because I love to see women take their dreams and turn them into a reality and encourage others to do the same. And so, I got a chance to check you out with you got a Boss Babe Bombers that's coming out, and I see that is out. And what is next for Boss Babe, and what is next is for Alexandra.
Yeah. So what's next for Boss Babe? I mean, right now we're talking with some really cool people to host master classes on our academy. And, we're just expanding and we're growing. Our team is growing. There's just a lot going on with Boss Babe. So I definitely keep an eye out for that. And me personally, I'm just building my portfolio. And, I just moved to New York this year. So I'm making new friends and networking a lot. And yeah, I can't wait to see where we are this time next year.
This is definitely exciting. So, normally I've always looked to give some codes, right, for the millennials that are listening, for the young folks that are coming up behind us. And, what are, I'll say, 3 codes that you can share on tonight that would be necessary for them to not only, go forth and achieving their dreams, but also really being a boss babe in itself?
Yeah, okay. So my first one would be definitely to apply more self-mastery in your world and to just, give one day a chance where you don't allow anything to stress you out, where you identify what is about to stress you out and you make a conscious choice to step outside of the problem and deal with it in the most rational and controlled way possible. Because I think experimenting with that once, you'll see an exponential difference in how much you can problem solve and actually get things done. And it really helps your business. It's not like this thing I'm just saying for fun. It's like something that really helps. The second thing I'd say, is invest in yourself, buy books, go to networking events, listen to audios. I always tell people I have a master at YouTube University. I'm a Google gangsta, all those things. Like you have a whole database of an unlimited amount of information that's being added to the world every day. So there's kind of no excuse to not know about or be a master in some area. And then the third one is a little bit more technical, but I think it's really important for every millennial right now to build an email list. Right now, I think everyone's so caught up in the follower world and everybody wants to be cool on the gram. But if you're interested in building a personal brand, the most valuable thing I think you can do right now is make an email list. Even if you don't know what you want to do, just, make a website and put a freaking email box on there and tell people what you plan on doing, because I think it's going to be one of the most valuable assets to have as a millennial adult in the personal branding online world. So those are my 3 codes.
And I appreciate each and every one of them. Now, before you get out of here, if you can please let them know how they can, one, follow you, of course, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all your social media, as well as your brand, Boss Babe. And then if anyone would like to get coaching or be a part of your academy, tell them how they can do that as well.
Yeah, so if you want to follow me, I'm Alex Wolf Co. So Alex Wolf CO on Instagram and Twitter. And Boss Babe, you can find us on Instagram at bossbabe.inc. And if you want to enroll in the academy, we actually have a 3-day starter course that's completely free, and you can sign up at bossbabe.me, M-E, and check it out.
All right. It's just that simple. You have, like, in radio format, others the podcast, we always say, we got any shout outs? You got anybody you want to shout out? Anybody that you, listeners, for to say?
Sure. I want to shout out my girls, our brand ambassadors who come on Periscope every day, and they give free advice on how to build a better life and business. And you can follow us there at Team Boss Babe on Periscope. And then a side shout out to my friends at Bay App, which is a dating app for people of color, millennials of color. And it's like really cool. So download the app.
Absolutely. Make sure you follow my girl. She is so dope. And I promise you, your life will always be changed, especially when it comes to you being an entrepreneur. Again, thank you so much for being on the G Code and sharing your codes, and also the pretty, the ugly, and the grind to your success. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
You're absolutely welcome. Well, my go-getters, again, make sure you subscribe to the G Code, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also follow us there and get connected with us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube for the subscription, so you can always get it each and every Wednesday in true fashion like always. Thanks again, and welcome to the G Code.